Now, I probably don't need to remind you, it's the day when partners delve deep to buy a dozen roses, we hope. But are Londoners just preoccupied with price, or is there an ethical consideration? A new study says the 10,000 tonnes of red roses imported from Kenya each February are bad for the ecosystem. But one minister says they're greener than buying ones from Holland. Confused? Here's Mike Ramsden to make sense of it all.
It's the classic Valentine's gift, a dozen red roses. At this time of year, that can mean shelling out a lot of cash.
Last year we had a Russian customer who bought 1,000 roses for £5,000.
But this year there's another consideration: where the flowers were grown. This firm says it was the first to offer a newly developed ethical guarantee.
It means that pesticides and the excessive use of pesticides and so forth is avoided. But there's also the fact that the people who produce the flowers need to be looked after, so it's not a kind of sweatshop environment, so to speak.
Now, both of these bunches of red roses are going to make somebody very, very happy, but which is the most environmentally sound? Is it the bunch that's been grown in a heated greenhouse in Holland, or the bunch that's been flown halfway across the world from Kenya?
My message is, don't assume just because it's come from a further distance that necessarily it's worse for the environment, because if you look at flowers, and this study which looked at roses in particular, that's not the case, because you spend a lot of energy actually growing roses in heated greenhouses. If they come from Kenya or Africa, the sun does it for them naturally.
The research he's talking about was done by Cranfield University. Meanwhile, another study by Leicester University says intensive flower farming like this is ruining the ecosystem in parts of Kenya. If you're buying roses, should you buy them from Kenya or from Holland?
I would say if you're buying roses today that you should get them from Holland. I know there's contention over who emits the most CO2, but I think it's a slight red herring, because if you're talking about Kenyan roses and Kenyan cut flowers in general, you're talking about the degradation of water supplies, which are vital for that region and vital for local communities.
But will it make any difference to the people actually forking out for flowers?
A rose is a rose as far as I'm concerned.
When someone receives a flower, the first thing they're not thinking about is where it's coming from. And certainly when I'm buying one, it isn't either.
The thought that counts, and we're out to dinner tonight, so there.
Mike Ramsden, BBC London News.
It's the thought that counts. Well, if you've forgotten that thought and to get a gift for your Valentine, how about this? A share of a box at the Royal Albert